primary problem, of course, is in number 3, which would fragment the city, have a minority of the city elect a majority of the council. We think that you must have councilmen responsible to the entire voters in the city. Council manager depends upon councilmen being people who make policy only, to be carried out by the city manager. We cannot have highly paid councilmen looking for pork barrel projects for their portion of the city.
I don't think proposition number 3 in and of itself will cause a city manager form of government to decay. I think it's placed on the ballot by a majority of the city council asking the voters to express their opinion. Certainly proposition number 4 that deals with the council pay will not be excessive, I don't think, in anyone's opinion. And I'm surprised to hear him say that it would create a bad reflection on council people. This is a very nominal sum, and I don't think overall it will cause the city government to fail.
Gary Parkway Bridge.
That's right.
We will be at the before the end of this year. Not the end of this year. Okay.
Well, really no powers other than to give the business people in Justice Peace 3 the opportunity to secure a liquor license for mixed beverages in their eating establishments, plus you drive in grocery stores to sell beer off premises only, consumption only.
Does this in fact relate to the regional airport?
Yes, it does. It includes that.
So if this election should fail, the regional airport would be dry?
Yes, it would.
Oh, okay. Why don't you go out and take notes and come back out and tell us about it?
Well, like, I don't know, like the National League is really, both leagues are good leagues. Both of them are major league leagues and everything. I don't think it really can compare them because you got superstars in both leagues. You got good ball players in the American League, you got good ball players in the National League, and you got bad ball players in each league. You know, it's just the only thing different I think it is just the name of the league. You know, the American League and the National League.
So both leagues are pretty good.
Yeah, when you come down to it, when you're pitching in the big leagues, everybody come to the plate with a bat, you know, can hit, you know, and can hit you, you know. If you're a fastball pitcher, there's always somebody going to hit that fastball in the American League or National League, you know. Over here, maybe you might see more breaking ball pitchers than you do in the National League, which got a lot of fastball pitchers, low ball pitchers, you know. But as far as comparing the leagues and everything, I think both leagues are major leagues, and I look at them as good leagues.
We do that in practice, although we haven't in the last couple of weeks. It's just something that players will see a situation like that occur, and you just know without having to say anything what you're going to be doing. And fortunately, Bobby and I were thinking the same way.
Kyle, you scored most of your goals on headers rather than on the ground. Do you feel better using your head than your foot?
Well, I do with whatever size that I have, and my better skill in the air, because I can jump a little bit. I'm more of a threat in the air, and we can direct balls into our offense in the air, and I can maybe lay them off. So a lot of the opportunities come not just from scoring plays, but from a pass in where that maybe went a little bit off and put me one-on-one with the goalkeeper.
Because they're only thinking about economy and they're letting the mail gather up and pile up instead of delivering it like it should.
Why?
Because of the fear that it's going to cost them extra money and they're not going to be able to break even.
Could this become a bankrupt corporation?
I hope not. I couldn't say at this point whether it would or not.
Well, what do you think is going to be the future of the U.S. Postal Service and its makeup?
The future of the Postal Service depends on the type of people that are running it. If they start thinking in terms of giving service, which is all that we have to offer, rather than to trying to think how they can balance the budget, they're going to get better service.
I don't think. All I know are the facts. And I don't want to speculate on anything that serious. I just know that our home was broken into and all the papers were rifled in all the drawers while we were attending the Democratic Convention. And I know that jewelry was examined and left, and silver was examined and left, and I thought it rather strange at the time, as did the police. In the light of the disclosures of the last couple of months, I thought it appropriate to notify the proper authorities, the Irving Committee and the prosecutors of that factual situation.
I'm going to call on the business community for a meeting this week. I'm going to ask all the citizens of Fort Worth to recognize the fact of the economic impact that General Dynamics has been and will be on the city of Fort Worth, and to write, wire, or call their congressman and the president to see if we can continue to keep the production line at GD open until other contracts might be available to keep it open from now on.
Big deal, you say, another art show. Well, wait a minute, this one in the lobby of El Centro College is sort of unusual. To begin with, the art displayed here is for sale at reasonable prices, from $5 to $8. The work's mostly charcoal and acrylic portraits and character studies, and it goes up for sale after Friday. Now, where does the art come from? Well, it comes from the Dallas County Jail. These inmates have been drawing and painting all spring as part of a non-credit art class offered to inmates by El Centro College. The inmates, most of whom had little previous artistic experience, say drawing relaxes them. And instructor Walter Emerson says there's fertile ground in this here jail.
Well, art is a relaxant in a way. There's no doubt about that. Art can be a definite form of therapy, and it has a tendency to let a person get outside of himself and develop his creative urges in a constructive manner.
Well, jail officials say the program's gone so well that they'll probably offer the course again this fall on a credit basis. And some of the men have indicated they'll trade their life outside the law for a life filled with easels and brushes and charcoal. For News 8 on the Move, this is Arch Campbell.
Or negotiations that we will have in the future. What's the cooperation? We certainly welcome the opportunity.
Morris don't cast them for all of you people.
Selection Commission, about to which I refer.
Much and the problems that arise from having a strong mayor form of government and the problems that arise from having a weak mayor form of government itself.
You find that the strong mayors get paid more?
Test 1, 2, 3, 4. Test 1, 2, 3.
About 2 years old.
Is that right?
AK and LC. This is the paperwork. The keys are stapled inside the bag as usual. There's 18 pieces of material in here.
18 pieces.
I mean, I think here some of them go in multiples of 4 and 5 and 5.
How many sample ballots do you?
pass a resolution
On this bill,
This is the amendment.
To try to keep him, fattened up a bit. What in net effect does the bill say?
Let me see what it actually does.
Well, I think this makes...
Precinct 3 will not have any effect on the regional airport by this law.
Not unless...
But when a church votes to withdraw,
as individuals, not committing congregation.
If you were not a member of a section or of a congregation, you didn't get the vote. I didn't get the vote.
Yeah.
City Secretary Harold Shank has had to get ready for lots of elections. He's been with the city for 27 years. But Shank says he's never seen a ballot like this one with its 44 propositions. Shank and his staff are responsible for handling city elections, but they've had to make some changes this time. People will be allowed to have notes with them to help them vote. Shank says if they don't, some would take too long, but he says his staff won't worry about that and about the 2-minute time limit since there's such a long ballot. The votes will be counted by a computer. Leon Lee is in charge of this. If all the votes came in at once, his computer could tabulate them in about 10 minutes. But the question isn't how fast the votes can be counted, it's how many votes there'll be. And the prediction is there won't be very many. Shank says about 25,000, because voters apparently can't get too excited about such a long ballot on charter changes. Jack Hill, Channel 8 News on the Move.
His negative statements, filled with such words as chaos and gloom, was not in keeping with either the past history or the current spirit of Dallas. Unless there be any doubt, let me state with utmost confidence there is no fragmentation on the City Council, there is no chaos in the city. An eroding tax base is a problem here just as it is in other cities, but we'll correct it. And racial polarization must be aggressively fought everywhere. But in Dallas, we have made great strides just recently. We have overcome racial prejudice more in the last 68 days with certain actions than in all the rest of Dallas history combined. Our greatest years in this city for all of the people, not just for a select few, are definitely ahead of us.
This park is normally filled with children running off their excess summer energies, but the rain today put a dampener on that. And it appears that the Dallas Community Action Program has temporarily put a dampener on 15,000 free lunches for children, including 2,000 for the children who frequent this park here in Pleasant Grove.
The free summer lunch is sponsored by the Black Knight Youth Program as an extension of the Type A lunch program that operates in 50 states during the school year. The 81 sites sponsored by the group are due to open week, but cannot without the approval of the Dallas Community Action Agency to use its non-profit tax-free number, which qualifies the group for federal funding, as has been done in the past. Foundation Director Richard Snyder said the new leadership of the Dallas Community Action Agency does not see the need for free summer lunches, and today held a news conference to enlist support.
And by having the use of the DCA tax number as we have in the past, this will allow us to complete our contract with the United States Department of Agriculture for this food program. And I hope that the board members of DCA who will be more aware of what's coming on the agenda, which was planned for Thursday, that we would like to see hasty action taken by these board members to see that we don't have to wait until Thursday and that the program can start hopefully maybe by the time that board meets.
Exline Recreation Center is typical of the areas served in the past by the program. But if approval is granted this year, the service will be extended to include such areas as Cheyenne Park with a predominantly white population. For Channel 8 News on the Move, this is Iola Johnson reporting.
5,570 signatures were needed on petitions asking for an election. Ed Lofton, county clerk, brought to Commissioner's Court this morning petitions with more than 9,000 signatures. More than 7,300 of those met legal requirements, so the court ordered the wet-dry election to be held on Tuesday, July 10th. I found it a bit hard to believe that the voters of one precinct would be allowed to determine whether or not liquor could be sold at the regional airport. Lofton told me he'd heard of a law which would allow Commissioner's Court to proclaim the area wet, so I asked County Legal Advisor Q. Lipscomb to check it out.
Well, the bill, just the net effect of it is in all counties over 500,000 population, it allows the Commissioner's Court to set, to declare as a wet area the actual buildings encompassed within a regional airport.
So the voters will decide the liquor sales issue in Precinct 3, but unless the law is found to be unconstitutional, the airport will be wet no matter what Euless area voters do. Jerry Taft, Channel 8 News on the Move, Fort Worth.
The ordination of women as church officers or ministers, favoring the discontinuance of capital punishment, permitting youth delegates to take part in assembly deliberations, approving of abortion for socioeconomic reasons,